Welcome to Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now, is the Joy of Being a live stream coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York, folks. Very happy to be here with you today. It is Freaky Friday. We are going to meditate, practice, and have a good time. First, where are you at, and what are you grateful for? Where am I? I am in Brooklyn. And what am I grateful for? This new lighting setup, maybe that. What else? What else am I grateful for? I have so many things. Outdoor friend times, good times for all. Folks, lovely to be here with you. Let me know where you're at, what you're grateful for, and then we'll go from there. Excited. Chris Ingram here from Guatemala, grateful for psychedelics. There you go. Something to be grateful for. Excellent. So folks, we're going to meditate today based on your input and suggestions, based on your preferences, interests, opportunities, these kind of things. So hit me with what you're interested in, what you want to meditate on today. I had half a mind if we have time afterwards, which we may not. I was going to start to outline. I have to basically build an outline for what I would think of as like the entire, maybe path of meditation, but the path of how I would teach awakening and how I would have that integrate into all these different parts in relationship to IFS and these different things. So I have to map that out. That's a job that I have to do for myself. So I was thinking about doing it live and figuring that stuff out with you guys. But we'll see. It's a task and a half. But folks, I also time-wise want to make sure we get to the meditation because I have an appointment. Jean, welcome here from Brooklyn. Grateful for walks in the park. Man, I can't overstate how, if you're not from New York, it's like walking in the park is like it's like getting out of jail. It's like a free get out of jail card. So exactly. So folks, we're going to jump into the meditation soon, but in order to do that, I need to hear from you what you're interested in exploring. And if there's any challenges that are arising in your life, if there are, then in that case, we will jump in and explore those. What else? What else is coming up for folks here as I get set up? There we go. Excellent. And I can also just make something up, have good times. So yeah, let me know if there's anything you want to practice on, in particular meditation on nature of the mind. That's very fun. The nature of the mind. How would I do that? Because all meditation is meditation on the nature of the mind, but how would I do that expressly and specific? Let's see. Yeah, okay. One way would be go down the clinging and aversion route, because it's the nature of the mind to form, grab around things, and then let go. That's such an interesting. Well, let me see if I get other hits here, because I feel like I can do it so many ways that if other people have suggestions or ideas, then maybe it'll help shape the direction we go. In the meantime, folks, find that nice, comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. We'll be jumping in just a few moments here, so get that body ready. Speaking of body ready, here, let me turn this up so I'm a little more sensitive to it peaking. Speaking of getting the body ready, my body has been rebelling against my lack of getting it ready. Basically, it's I think a year of sitting at a computer all day is starting to say hello. So on the lower spine, there's some pinching, and I got to get an MRI and this kind of thing. Learning our thought patterns and inclinations. Okay, well, that's going in a direction. Seeing our habits with clarity. Okay, so the clinging and aversion direction is the way I'm thinking of looking at this, because the ultimate, thought pattern, or I don't want to say ultimate, but the sort of one of the most rudimentary thought patterns is the mind's tendency to have clinging and aversion. The Buddhist landed that one pretty well way back when. So let's see here. Anything else before we begin? We'll jump right in and explore exactly what we're describing. And if not, it's no big deal. We'll just jump in. So folks, I'll let any last minute. So if you're just joining us now, just know that we're taking requests, anything in particular that any challenges you're having in your life, anything you want to explore in specific. Jean says, rethought patterns, being able to stop looping through. I couldn't stop myself from thinking things are terrible the other day when they really weren't. Excellent. Okay. So I'll just tell you right now that I know it sounds like a silly, there's apparently a quote from George Lucas, which seems appropriately sort of jerky, because he seems, from what I hear, he's quite a character, and I'm sure he has all sorts of parts, nice parts and jerky parts. But somebody asked him probably a very annoying question, because he probably gets silly questions like this all the time, but it's like, how do you break into the movie industry? And he fired back, somehow. So I don't know exactly what that meant, but this is that kind of answer, even though that answer is actually quite true. So how do we break the pattern of the mind in a habitual, like grinding gears, like thinking the same thought over and over again? The answer is somehow. And I know that sounds very silly and like, of course, duh, but it actually is a good answer if you look at the fact that anything that will tend to change the mind is going to help in a situation like that. So some people, for them, it's fitness. For some people, it is, one of the biggest ones is talking to another person. One of the biggest ones actually is helping another person, because it's very hard to get caught in your own stuff when you're helping someone who is struggling more than you. That is, volunteering or something like that. That's often the case. That's really helpful. I help people who are getting sober a lot of the time. So talking to them and just talking about their experiences and their challenges is really often gets me out of those loops. Sometimes meditation can do it, but sometimes it can be too echoey, like in our own experience. So going for a walk or any sort of version thereof. Joey the Bastard. Welcome, Joey. I think this is your first time here. Because it's your first time here, welcome. You get subject to our tradition. We are very happy you're here, and very delighted that you've joined us here. Thank you for joining us. We are, let's see. So we're designating what the meditation will be today. Is based on anyone's challenges. So we've had a few here. Repeating thought habits, and looking at the nature of the mind, looking at how we can see the patterns of the mind more clearly. I have been here before, and I like your style. Well, welcome anyway. Welcome back. Welcome back. Exactly. Excellent. Nate's here. Welcome, Nate. I have a question for Nate, which is around the concerts we're going to, and if there's anything I'm surprised they announced anything, because I had bought tickets way back when. Bicep Washington says, I'm new here. David from Wisconsin. David, welcome to the stream. Thank you for letting us know that you're new. We always ask if anyone's new, please let us know, because we have a special way of welcoming you. Thank you for joining us. Great to have you here, as always. And then beep, up. Okay, so any last requests before we jump into the meditation? This is where we will find out what our reality is built out of. But you can request any challenges that you're having in life that you want to work on in specific. So as you think of those things, I'm going to tell you the meditation will be 25 minutes long. Trust me, you can survive. If there's part of you, this is important, if there's part of you right now that's going, 25 minutes, that's impossible. This is part of the meditation, is ask that part that's doing that. Say, hey, do you mind stepping aside? Because we're actually going to do this fun meditation. So that part that's worried about the time and that it's impossible, just do you mind actually taking a break for now, because we're going to do this other thing. If you're polite enough and ask, kindly enough, it'll probably chill out at least a little bit. Nate says, stopping emotions in their tracks. That is not something, I wouldn't necessarily suggest that. Emotions that lead to acting out, whether it's porn or booze or gambling. So the emotions are not necessarily the problem. It's the overwhelm and the response to basically there's a part of us that feels it. There's the emotion, and there's a part that's like, I can't take it, so I'm going to drink or whatever. So that's more the part that we want to attend to. So today, what we'll do, I think we're circling a pretty solid meditation here. We're going to be looking at the mind's tendency to cling onto things, to grab onto things. Now, whenever we're distracted, this is what's happening. The mind is like grabbing onto something. So just know in this meditation, when distractions arise, that is actually helpful because it'll show us what we're looking for. So know that when distractions come in, which they will, it's actually totally fine. We're going to work with it, and that'll actually give us information for the rest of the meditation. So this will be very helpful in that way. So find a nice comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. I'm going to recommend that you sit in stillness, meaning that you don't voluntarily move the body in any way whatsoever. If you do need to move, though, feel free to do so. Just take about 30 seconds, a minute before you do so. So maybe like you can count several breaths and then do the movement slowly. But if you're starting to feel even a little bit overwhelmed, go ahead and make a little adjustment. If you're feeling it's not going away, you can make a bigger adjustment, until you can literally just open your eyes and practice, or you could even stop. It's important to manage overwhelm. So folks, find that nice comfortable position, and when you're ready, we will begin. Begin by taking a few comfortable deep breaths and just feeling the body rise and fall. Each time we begin a meditation, we begin with the momentum of all of the previous moments. So as we simply feel the sensations of the body in this particular moment, the mind will be moving at the speed of the conversation we were just in, or the thoughts and actions we engaged in prior to the meditation. We change this momentum by tuning into these particular sensations. So just feeling the body breathing and physically relaxing the body, physically relaxing more than you can even physically feel. Relaxing the major muscle groups, so relaxing the head, including the muscles behind the eyes, the back of the tongue, allowing the jaw to go slack. The neck and shoulders, the arms, and as you relax the hands, because the hands are used to gripping all day, we know this sensation. So even if the hands are already still and relaxed, imagine that at this moment they're gripping tightly, and see if you can relax them even further, as though we could toss the muscles themselves away from the bone. We can physically relax more than we can even physically feel, so relaxing more than you even can detect. Letting go of any attempt to control the breath, letting the body breathe as it will, noticing the natural tightening and relaxing of the upper chest and upper back as the breath comes and goes. relaxing the belly and the lower back. Relaxing the hips so deeply that it relaxes the legs. And relax the feet. And we're going to turn our awareness towards all of our sensation. And at first this may seem as though it's overwhelming, but whatever the body and mind is experiencing in this moment, this is the soft snapshot we're looking for. So over and over throughout this practice, we're going to take this soft snapshot. All sound, body sensations, the darkness of closed eyes, or all the color and shape if the eyes are open and resting on a single point. Any emotion, any thoughts in the form of mental audio or mental visual. And of course, this sounds like many pieces. How could we possibly capture all of this? Well, if we try to capture it in terms of pieces, we just can't. There's no way. But the mind is very good at creating a general snapshot. As though it were a kind of soft 3D picture. This is what this current moment is built out of. This is the experiential universe in this moment. So if there's part of the mind trying to capture every little piece, just know that that's just a little part. And let it be part of the whole. Each time we notice the overall experience in the mind, we can say the word whole. This helps the mind remember that experience. Whole. Whole. But of course, since we're holding the overall experience, this large, spacious capture, distraction will come in the form of parts, little pieces of sensation. Suddenly the mind will jump to the sensations of the left hand or some thought or sound. And so it's simply our job to introduce this part back to the whole. So holding the mind in this spacious way, receptive, welcoming. Recognizing this as the whole, labeling it as whole. And if the mind is pulled to any particular part, any detail, if we can just ignore that and stay with the whole, then that's fine. But if we're really pulled in, It's not a problem. This is part of the nature of the mind. We simply introduce that sensation to all the sensations around it. Showing that it is one sensation among many within a whole. Perhaps noticing that the overall experience, this whole, it's simply welcoming and open. Anything can enter this spacious awareness. There's no resistance, no need to change anything. It's simply open. This openness is what is sometimes described as a kind of love or care or kindness. Simply open to whatever comes in contact with it. And this neutrality is an important quality. It doesn't need anything to be different. If there's part of us that's struggling, assessing, or judging, these aren't problems, they're just parts. Any part of us that needs this to be different or better, to get it. Not a problem, simply a part. A part of nature. And this neutrality, this is a great teacher, that there is a central part of our experiencing that doesn't need anything to be different, not even discomfort. So much of our experience is spent wanting, needing, working. So that the instant we wake up, the system is trying to get things done. So if we can, soaking into this neutrality, it's important to know that the wanting, any drives within us, these aren't bad. These are just parts within nature. Nature itself expressing. So we can scan our experience in this moment and see if there's any part of us that would change anything if it could. If it had a magic wand, it could change any of our current, present moment experiences. Would that part choose to do so? And recognizing that wanting is nature. Of course it wants. Recognizing it as nature and introducing it back to the whole. Perhaps the wanting is sophisticated or well organized, and it comes in the form of a self, of a me. In other words, this part is skilled enough to take over the system and create an identity or take over identity. So we don't need to suppress any part that might take over. We simply recognize its nature. Ah, of course. Of course you would want. And of course, you might choose to take over this body, appear to run the mind in order to get what you want. I see you. Thank you. Gratitude for these parts is a simple and easy way to introduce it back to the whole. So we're simply staying with a spacious, kind awareness, noticing if there's any wanting or even not wanting. Wanting something to end or wanting the neutrality to return. Even subtle wanting, like wanting discomfort to stop, or even more subtle, the wanting that creates time, waiting for the next moment. Recognizing this is nature. In other words, accepting the wanting, having equanimity with non-equanimity. Ah, yes, of course. I see you. Thank you for communicating so clearly. Allow me to show you this experience of the whole. thoughts themselves are kind of wanting, kind of organizing of all of this raw data. Emotions and our narrative experience, the sense that we have been a person since childhood, and we are the same emotional narrative. This is something the body-mind holds onto. A sense of space, a sense that we are at the center. The world is organized around that center. Not bad, not a problem, quite natural. And also part of a whole. The mind organizes experience as well in the form of time. This moment, the sense that there is a past, there is a future. Sometimes this feels so obvious that of course it's not a part, it's just the truth. It's what the mind says. Not surprising that the mind says that part of its operating system is just pure reality. So just seeing time, seeing the sense of moments. It seems like we're at the center of time, the present, and recognizing that this too is a part. And even the sense of a viewer, an observer, even the sense that there is something to be observed is another part. The part that understands these words. Each one often thinking that it is us, it is our true being. Thanking them, recognizing them as nature, and introducing them back to the whole. Even the part that introduces, let it be part of the whole. Recognizing that the organizing principles, all these different ways the mind organizes our experience are all natural, not a problem. And as we do this, allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes, eventually allowing the eyes to rest on a single point as they fully open, taking in all the seeing experience and including it as part of the whole. Again, not trying to add all the little details, just letting there be this large collection. One strange, messy pool with every part of us and all of time, space. And in this way, recognizing that this particular moment, this is the great teacher. This particular moment is what can show us how to bring this practice into every aspect of our life. Okay. What a delight. What fun. Okay. Making any adjustments you need to allow the body to be comfortable. A little stretchy, stretchy. Oh. All right, so we're going to talk about what that experience was like in one of two ways. One is use those digits, use that digital technology, or follow that first link in the Discord and we'll chit-chat like kitty cats. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Okay, Discord, here we are. Chris is joining us. Okay, Chris, I'm going to bounce you out of the waiting room now into the chatting room. Here we go. Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent.
How's it going?
Oh, going well. Excellent. How was that meditation? What happened?
Well, every time I jump back on the stream, I get more clarity because I always practice off stream as well. So, more clarity into seeing the parts, easier time staying still and bringing stuff back to the whole. So I would say an ever so slight progress in the right direction.
Great. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Yeah, and who was it who asked for talking about the nature of the mind today? So that was fun. Yeah, just watching.
I asked about that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's like just watch it. Like the way that I'm describing the nature of the mind is it's the nature of the mind to be able to be whole, and it's the nature of the mind to divide the world. And it's like constantly doing this. But what we do is we take the product of the division and say that that's reality. There's me, there's you, there's like things to navigate versus the process itself. And if we can see the process, we unlink ourselves from the product, and the products is where we get into like, fighting ourselves and fighting the world, etc. So awesome. Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, my question is, for example, I always get like clarity again into the parts.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this like part, the unhelpful parts, the part that wants to be distracted or wants to eat junk food or everything. Yeah. So I don't really know if I'm watching from another part or from the self or the whole.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, the part that like the manager that tries to get into the more healthy parts, is that like self as an IFS, or is that like another part?
Well, I'll just clarify for anyone listening. So when we say we use the word self, we're talking about, in Buddhism, it's called like the ground of being. In Hinduism, it's called true self, etc. So I just want to always make that constellation so people can tell what we're talking about. So basically, each of these has qualities, and you can tell based on the qualities. So one quality of, we'll call it true being. That'll be our general. It gets tricky because with IFS they call it self, and so like in Buddhism it's like non-self, whatever. So we'll call it true being for now. True being. This is why I mentioned that it doesn't need anything to be different. There's no need for it to change in any way, and we can tell if there's no need. Then that's where we're in contact with true being. If, however, there is this sense of I've got to get it, I've got to understand, I've got to manage the meditation, I've got to do these parts, then it's probably a, in IFS, they call that true being self. So they say it's a self-like part. It's very close to the part, but it's not quite the part. So often the part that wants to understand and get it and manage the situation is self-like, but it's actually fine. But at some point we do have to collapse that layer as well.
Okay.
Does that help clarify?
Yeah. By the way, I'm gonna be doing an ibogaine session today, so maybe I can talk about it on Monday as you give psychedelic reports. Maybe I can give mine for a change.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear it. And it's obviously guided, I'm assuming?
Well, no, it's I got like a workbook. I got ibogaine online, but I did do like a medical exam, and I have my brother taking care of me. So,
okay, good. Okay, as long as someone's taking care of you. Again, I don't advise or anyone do or not do anything, and there are certain precautions. You want to make sure that there's someone there, and also for your brother taking care of you, minimal is better. It's a lot about letting go. It's a lot about make intentions and get ready and prepare and whatever. And then when you do the journey itself, you effectively, it's just various layers of like not interfering, like getting out of the way over and over again. So that's my general take is don't try to manage it because it'll kick your ass.
Yeah, I'm trying to because like the experience as it is described, obviously it's very difficult to describe it from someone who's already experienced it because it's very different from normal reality. But from what I gather, it sounds like you go through you do shadow work, or you go through your like psyche and get like really clarity into your like thought patterns and stuff. So it seems a lot like the meditations we're doing, just with psychoactive components to it. Maybe it's more intense, but yeah, letting go.
Probably more intense.
Yeah, probably.
Probably more intense,
Yes.
But also just remember that managing part that wants to make it go well, that wants to make it turn out, like that can get in the way. So just know that all these parts will arise, and it's in a way it's like you let the medicine do its job versus like trying to do the job of the medicine.
Yeah, just letting go. Okay.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
Thank you for the tips, man.
Absolutely.
I'll let you know.
Interested to hear how it goes. All right,
I'll let you get to the other people.
I'll toss you back in the waiting room here.
Bye, man.
Okay, if anyone else wants to jump on, let me know. Let me know here. In the meantime, I want to read this nice report from Jean. Jean says the following. Jean says,
I'm definitely going to come back to this one because my mind kept wandering.
against the rules.
But it is becoming easier for me to feel like I'm tapped into the sense of the whole, especially from a physical perspective. I also realized that I was extra grumpy the other day after not having practiced yoga for several days. I think one way I expel anxiety caused by random dramas my mind decides to create is by moving around.
There you go. Yeah, the body, that part that if I could just move the body, then everything will be fine. I missed today's. This is Julius. I missed today's meditation. Definitely a lot of distraction before, during, and after. Well, good thing it's recorded, and I think if you put exclamation point links in the chat, it'll give you the YouTube and all that stuff where you can watch it again. Jean goes on to say,
I also fixed Discord, by the way. I deleted and created a new account.
very nice.
Hopefully it's properly claimed now and won't prompt me to do so again.
Yeah, hope so. Fingers crossed. Bicep Washington says, wishing you well in the upcoming journey. Yeah, wishing you well, Chris. We're all holding space for you. Excited to hear. Oh, and we have Das Schultz we have a couple people on the Discord, so I'm going to jump to Das Schultz is here, and I'm going to put you you're in the waiting room. I'm about to put you in the other spot right now. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Perfect. Great. Okay, so if you haven't adjusted your audio, just make sure that the stream is silent on your end, and then you'll be all set.
All right, that was the hiccup because it was coming in kind of weird. I never actually talked over Discord like this before, so it's all magic to me.
Exactly. Witchery.
Yeah, so I'm actually Bicep Washington. This is David.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to be here. Yeah, I've just been encountering like pretty deep tension or kind of knots in my stomach and kind of up to my heart, like basically in meditation over the last several months, as well as like introductory work with parts, began seeing a therapist, but also just kind of doing some of my own inquiry. And yeah, it feels immovable, like basically all the time.
And can I ask you a question? It sounds like you're describing that they are emotional in nature. It's not like indigestion.
Yeah, emotional in nature.
Okay.
It's like a, yeah, I mean, it feels like, yeah, my breath kind of catches on it, and it sort of surges up in a way that, through the lens of like embracing the whole today, which is kind of a different meditation that I'm used to doing. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I have a clear sense that it sort of steps forward and blocks out the rest of my awareness.
Yep.
I'd say like in a quasi dramatic way, or at least it's,
No, I mean, that's exactly what overwhelm often is that the mind clamps around an emotion like that, some somatically held emotion, and it says this is all of reality, and then it's terrifying because it's like, Jesus, this is everything.
Yeah, you just like want it to go away. It's like, what is this? Why are you like? And that's generally my emotional register in relationship to it. A little bit of frustration, a little bit of like, how can I make space for you? I'd say it's giving way to a little bit more care. And that's what I wanted to say about the meditation today, was that some of the language around thinking, like being grateful for it, like, meeting it in some new kind of friendly way. That was actually, I actually felt like some movement in a way that I really haven't before. So I'm really grateful for that. I feel like that was, I don't know, gave me a little more hope for continuing to process it. So
great. And you said that you started working with an IFS therapist?
Really recently.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And that's
just a few sessions. Yeah.
Great. And that's, I think, wait, is this David connected with Max?
With Max,
oh,
yeah. I should have
okay,
introduced myself.
Okay, I just made it just took me a minute. It was like, okay. So now I know a little bit about our background. Okay, so here's what I'll say is, one, great. I mean, working with an IFS therapist is going to do so much of this work and like helping see through these parts. The way I've been framing somatically held emotion recently is as follows. So one thing is, this is for anyone listening, is you want to get good at detecting emotions generally. Like you want to get good at, is this sensation emotional in nature? There are two general big categories of emotion. There is present moment emotion in response to our current moment environment, and then there's old emotion that's somatically held in the body. That is more stable. They tend to feel more, contractive in quality. They often can feel like, if we remember times when we're overwhelmed or like visiting family or something, it's like they can feel like they were at the center of that overwhelm. Present moment emotion is much lighter, kind of moves to the body very quickly, and you can imagine having like a flash of joy or a flash of rage, and like it just kind of comes and sweeps across the body, almost like a temperature. So those are present moment versus somatically held. Somatically held emotions tend to be very closely linked with trauma. And there's an excellent book called The Body Keeps the Score, which I think I mentioned to you in the past.
Yeah, I've never read, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's a great resource, and one of the resources they mentioned in there is IFS therapy. So now getting to the IFS part, the way I've been thinking about these emotions recently is looking at them as it is a burden or a weight that a part carries. And a lot of the time, the challenge with a lot of the parts work, the internal family systems therapy parts work, is that the part will think that it is its burden, like it's carrying something heavy, and it will think, I am this thing, and I am my role. My role is I carry this weight, it's painful, and the thing that I do is I, just eat snacks all day long. That's who I am. I'm that damn part who always eats snacks. or, that I yell at people, or I hide and I'm not good enough, etc. So the part thinks that it is this burden. A lot of the time when we're feeling that emotion, I think my approach for years had been just like feel it and feel it, like first person, just feeling the emotion. What I realize now, what I was doing is I was taking a part that wanted the emotion to be gone, and I was sort of trying to force it and push it through like the most vulnerable part of me. And I was like, all right, like part that feels like it can't handle anything, just like feel this and feel it and like learn how to take it, without ever checking in, like the part of me that feels overwhelmed, like, is this okay for you? And not realizing like I was trying to put this immovable object and like push it through like this, the tiniest possible aperture. So now the way I look at it is that I'm trying to lift that burden from the part. So I find the part who feels like it's holding all this weight, all this intensity, and I talk to that part and say, let's just put this aside for now. Let's just ask this intensity to, quiet down or be off on the side. You could even think of it as another part, but often they have very little character to them. They might not have a voice or that kind of thing, but they might. So check that out. But you hang out with a part that feels like it has to feel all this overwhelm, this like intensity, and you make friends with that. You make it feel safe. You make it feel heard, and you start to basically teach it over time that there's something else that could feel all of this. It doesn't have to actually feel it, because there is a sense you have to go through it. But actually, it's not that part that has to go through it. It has to be felt, but it can be felt by the entire system rather than this part. That's been my take recently.
I like it. I'll try that on. I'll try to give it a try, because what you said about, because it is kind of a silent part. Like I have an image of it a little bit, and but I sort of feel like communication kind of bounces off of it. It's just this sort of it's kind of old and kind of like a rock formation almost. So, finding another access point, like the image of that it's a part that's holding that's a burden carried by another part that maybe I'm just repeating back to you, a burden carried by another part that sort of feels like it's too much, and that it feels like it can't bear it, or sort of give the burden off to anything or anybody.
It feels
it would be too much for it.
It feels both that it cannot bear this weight anymore, and it has to bear the weight. I have to. This is my role. I have to do this. So it feels stuck, and it's like this horrible feeling of like the only way to get through this pain is for me, this particular vulnerable part, to feel it, and if I feel it, it'll kill me. So it's like this push and pull. That's been a lot of my experience.
Can I ask one more question quick?
Sure. Let me there's one more person in the queue, but please go ahead.
Is it your sense that this, like, by coming into like a kind of a friendly, genuine relationship with the self, that the self doesn't take on the burden in the sense of but it sort of shares the burden in a way that allows it to dissipate, or for it.
I would say that it effectively does take on the burden, but it doesn't need to be a burden, because the self, again, this true being, I think I might just start using IFS language because it's just easier if you're talking to IFS people. Self energy, this, true being, it has a limitless capacity. They talk about like window of tolerance, like how much emotion you can handle before freaking out. Like that's a standard psychology concept. The window of tolerance for the self is infinite. It can handle anything. So it can take on the burden easily. It just has to sort of, in a sense, the system has to align itself so that that's available, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
Great.
Right. Really awesome.
Yeah,
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
Thanks for joining. I was looking forward to seeing you, so I'm glad you made it.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad I finally made it here. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay. Take care. Okay, I think Nate was in the waiting room. Nate, if you want to jump in at any time, you are welcome to do so in the, let's see, any more comments or questions in the chat? If not, we'll melt away into the ether. Exactly, okay. Okay, so let's see. Is Nate popping in? Okay. Folks, it was very lovely to be here with you today. Quite an eventful little stream. You know, you never know what's going to happen. Pretty fun. And so we're going to be back here in fewer than 48 hours, folks. Very excited to be here with you. And we have Nate, late arrival. Here we go. Popping in. Nate, what's up? Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, you're back in the waiting room. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Sorry, it's hard to have Discord on because I can't hear it on speaker.
Totally.
So I'm going to try to get in there right at the last second. At any rate, excellent practice. It definitely just helped me bring things to the whole. And yet it might be more of a technical question, which is I guess what I'm famous for. Really maybe missing the forest for the trees. What is your commentary on getting to... First, there's two things. One, to me, the word a soft snapshot seems like an oxymoron. Because to me, a snapshot is crisp. And soft obviously defines it in the opposite. And my second question relates to that, which is relative to generating and efforting versus do nothing. How do you define the whole?
Generating versus non-doing?
Like non-doing versus efforting, where does the whole, because we're generating the whole. We're generating that soft snapshot. You're asking us to do that towards the beginning after we relax.
Okay.
Am I trying to do nothing, or am I efforting to sort of create and maintain that the whole, for lack of a better word?
Well, I would create is a little bit of it's a little tricky. I would say it's really what we're doing is just noticing. This is classic awareness of awareness practice. It's noticing that which notices, seeing the knowing part of experience. So it's like Gnostic space. It's like the space that knows. That's what that big hole is. It's not, the fact that it's a hole doesn't matter that much actually. It's just that if you land in a hole, you've eaten up all the parts and the system is just in this field of knowing. So it is a way to contact awareness. Awareness can be small too, but I just don't get into it. I'm just like, okay, it's this big spacious thing, just simpler to like experientially get across to people. So does that clarify a little bit? I know there's more questions, but I just want to make sure that you understand what I just said.
Yeah, and
okay.
As you probably know, I kind of knew that already. It's just I need it.
Yeah.
The way you sort of state it sometimes is that better clarity helps me to,
Great.
I guess, confirmation or just to relax more.
Yeah. So I appreciate you mentioning like soft snapshot is like a contradiction. It's really funny if you try to start communicating this stuff. I mean, this is what David, also known as Bicep Washington, I want to know the background on that name. It's funny. Was saying, but this is part of why Zen will like just not name anything, because everything is wrong. Everything's a lie. Everything is a contradiction, because you're talking about something that's pre-linguistic. You're talking about something that is non-dual, that is cannot be designated. So it's not, that phrase, a soft snapshot, is not meant to be contradictory, like for fun. And it's not like even really meant to be contradictory. What it generally, and again, each word I use to describe this is problematic. So we experience our senses in terms of moments. So it's like a momentary knowing of the whatever constellation of senses is arising, and the need for it to be like really sharp and like this is the edge and this is the shape of the thing is often a little contradictory to the process of letting it all be sort of as one large amalgam. It's the mind trying to divide it or know it really clearly is often attention trying to like hold on to it. So so soft snapshot is just basically to say like it can be like a cloud. It does not have to be like sharp and tight and very clear, but it is like, okay, this is what the constellation of our senses are in this moment. And it changes. Okay, we can take another soft snapshot. So that's the general idea behind that language. But just know that if you can find a better language, because I think you get the idea of the thing we're doing. If you can find better language to describe that, I love hearing it. And just know that the part that's like, is it a soft snapshot? Like, I know you enough to know that you know how to do what I'm describing. So the part that wants to know that, just recognize that that's just a part. And okay, it really wants to get this and get the language right, etc. And it's that part will, it's like the Buddha talks about, like, you've built a raft, you've got to cross the water. Now what do you do with it? Do you like carry it on your back for the rest of your life? So it's like that part that wants to get the language exactly right is, just know that it'll help you up to a point, and it's going to be a total hindrance at some point. So it's more about experiencing it yourself. And a lot of, non-Western teachers will just be like, like the classic thing, like, you're just asking too many questions. Not that you are, but they'll just say tough, like go practice. And you're like, but I don't understand. Like, I don't care. Like, next, because, and I mean, think about it, like Zen is almost built out of like, eat crap, go get away. You know what I mean? Like, someone comes and says like, should I be efforting or should I be like creating the whole? And they'll like throw an apple at your face. It's like, holy shit. You're like, and then throw an apple at your face, not like, go ha. It's like throw an apple at your face and be like, do you understand? Explain to me how you like, do you know what happened? And like, you're like, fuck, like, so, like, there are entire traditions built out of like, stop with the words, just be careful of that word wanting to know part, because early Buddhism was very like words, definitions, charts and etc. And then, a lot of Buddhism as it progressed was like, we're cutting all of that out. It's all gone. And then of course it, comes back on all these weird mandalas and different things later on. So does that help clarify?
Absolutely. I appreciate it. The unlearning is definitely a lifetime process. It's, kind of like a bell curve if you're doing it right, or if you're doing it, I don't want to say the word right. And to that end, one commentary, given your what you said a minute ago, is I wouldn't say that all of these things are lies or wrong. Mm-hmm. I would just say that they are all in your head. Yeah. They're just not real. Yep. To me, that provides a not right, wrong answer. Sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's not good or bad, it just is.
Yeah. I mean, basically, that part of the premise is like, there is nothing that is not a contradiction. And and the thing knows nothing. It's like, there's no thing that is not a contradiction, because no object can it, like, it's so weird. We get into such weird territory. Anyone who's watching this is like no object can really exist, because an object, in the way the mind creates objects, it seems to imply that it exists in all context as itself without any, and it just is itself. But if you this is where all those weird philosophy things come in. It's like, well, what about the context of this being 1,000 degrees? Like, it's now a pool of stuff. Does it still exist? And then the mind says, oh, it's atoms, or it's metal. That's what it is. But its nature just changed according to the mind. So the mind thinks that it's very solid, it's keeping everything together, but if we look even a little bit at any of our experiences, all of it breaks down. So we're trying to use language to describe something where everything breaks down. So of course, everything is a hiccup. Maybe that's the most accurate language. Everything is a hiccup.
Fascinating stuff. Awesome. I appreciate it.
Great to chat. I'm going to put you in the waiting room, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace. Okay, we got some great comments here. Okay, it's an old gaming name. That is perfect. It makes perfect sense. Julia says, this will be our final question. What are skillful uses of resistance? I asked, do you mean like wanting or this kind of thing? Aversion pushes against sensation, like the opposite of what we do with kind awareness. Yes. Can you speak and chat at the same time? Can I speak and chat at the same time? I don't know. I'll find out. But so the point is that to answer your question, I think what you're pointing at is, are there skillful uses of what we today we're describing as wanting? And I was describing even time as a kind of wanting, the mind wanting for moments to sort of move forward, wanting for space to sort of be centralized. The traditional translation of the term is clinging, is geez, I'm forgetting the poly, but anyway, so we'll call that clinging. But you could just call it in a way like we maybe talked about this before, nama. So it's the mind naming the world. It names the world and breaks it up into a million little pieces. And the number one name, the number one object that the mind creates is me, and then I have to fight the rest of reality to like maintain and protect this object. So, in another way, and rupa would be non-conditioned sensory experience, just like raw. That's, in a way, that's the whole that we're describing here. So, in a sense, you're saying, are there any skillful uses of nama, of the world as it is divided? Well, I mean, it's sort of a funny question, because it's like, to any person who is not in this weird world of, deconstructive meditation and seeing, touching the face of God, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I mean, is there any use to anything? It's like, I mean, I have a really cool VR headset over here. It's really entertaining. I have a puppy who I really like, and I get to, play. The puppy's a little interesting case, because I don't think the puppy sees the world the same way we do. But, all of capitalism, we have all the shiny things and all the tyrannies that come along with it, right? Every organizational, mathematics, right? That's a way of organizing the raw sense data of our experience. So we really want to get to a place where we realize, because typically what we'll do is, especially early meditators, not that you're early, but early meditators, and especially early Buddhism, is like, clinging bad. Get rid of clinging. But it's sort of insane. It's like, right, but how do you hold a cup if you don't? The joke that I'll say sometimes is like, yeah, like it's all it's all fun and games until you try to take the kids to the soccer game, but you don't exist. Like, it's very weird territory. So all of this is very useful, and you can't go into a store and say, I was going to say bodega, but that's a local term. You can't go into a store and say, hey man, like, it's all just atoms. Like, I'm just going to take this bread. Like, we're not using money. But it's like, money is an idea. It's an IOU that we all sort of share. But you can't just like skip that IOU. So what it is that objects make sense. And I'm going to say objects, I mean money, self, and world. Here's a good example. Black Lives Matter. Right, and social justice. That is people will come along and say, why don't you just forget about this concept of race, right? Why don't you just let go of that object? And it's like, well, because there's massive tyranny. And so, like, forgetting that object means like forgetting that there is actually a context within which that is like really terrible for a lot of people. So actually, let's look at the context, let's look at it very carefully and say we no longer want this tyranny. And if that tyranny is actually eliminated or changed drastically, then many, many generations down the road, that concept of like Black Lives Matter or anything like that, sure, maybe there is a context in which that could potentially like, change, and it's like not as important because there's equality, maybe, but like it's often people saying like, couldn't we imagine a time when that would be the case? And so let's do that now. And it's like, that is violence. That's just like violence by its nature. So hopefully that is an example of ways in which organized data is valuable. And we want to learn that in our meditation too. Just because something is organized doesn't mean it's bad. So just because the mind can hold this as an object doesn't, in fact, it's very useful. I can ring it when we have a meditation. And we want to also be able to see through it. So we want the flexibility to see that it's all empty, but also the ability to form and say, okay, I'm going to have a live stream because this is fun. We want that flexibility because then we have maximum leverage for what? And this is the question that comes back. Why do I want all this leverage? Well, it's for fulfillment. So I can have a fun, exciting, enjoyable, fulfilling life. That is the reason we're doing all this stuff. So folks, lovely as always to see you here. What a delight. I am so excited that we get to meet back here in fewer than 72 hours. Really fun. And what else? P.S. Group mentorship coming soon. Trust me. I got an email about that soon. Great to see you folks, and I'd love to connect again soon. Okay. Please let me know if anyone has any questions in the meantime. And in the meantime, what will I say? Okay, folks, in this particular moment, notice your system forming, creating time, a sense of what the rest of the day is going to be like. Notice the momentum of the practice that we've done so far, and let that momentum carry you into the day. As always, folks, practice well, take care of each other, have fun, and we'll see you all very, very soon.